Chosen one. Do you feel that? That sudden stillness in your chest? That unexplainable heaviness settling over your spirit right now? Something is happening to you. Something you can't shake off. Something you can't explain away. And let me tell you why you're frozen in this moment, why your finger won't scroll past this message, why your heart is already racing before I've even told you what's coming. You're about to be spiritually paralyzed for the next hour. Not by fear, not by doubt, but by the sheer weight of divine intervention crashing into your reality like lightning splitting the night sky. This message didn't find you by accident. The algorithm didn't bring you here. Heaven intercepted your scroll because what I'm about to release over your life will shatter every limitation, every delay, every whisper that told you not yet or not you. Tell me, have you been feeling it? That restless stirring, that ache in your soul that won't let you sleep? That's not anxiety, beloved. That's acceleration building in your spirit. God has been warming up your engine. And tonight he hits the gas. But here's what's terrifying the enemy. You're about to experience what I call divine burster. Supernatural explosion of love, purpose, and power that will make the last 10 years look like preparation and the next 10 years look like pure manifestation. If something in your chest already knows this night isn't ordinary, if your spirit is trembling with recognition right now, type 999 in the comments. That's not superstition, that's agreement. That's you telling heaven, I'm ready for what you're about to do. Before we go deeper, let me pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're sowing seeds into a harvest that will feed hungry souls across this nation. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your time, your attention, your open heart, it all matters. But listen carefully, chosen one. This is not another motivational message. This is a divine interruption. This is heaven saying, the waiting stops now. The breakthrough starts tonight. And if you think you can just casually watch this and walk away unchanged, you're about to discover that when God decides to accelerate your life, nothing, absolutely nothing, remains the same. Stay with me. Don't you dare scroll away. Because what's about to be poured into your spirit will leave you unrecognizable by morning. Why does it feel like your prayers are hitting a concrete ceiling? Why does every door you approach slam shut just as your hand reaches for the handle? Why at this stage of your life does it feel like God has put you in spiritual solitary confinement? Listen to me, beloved. What if I told you that this suffocating stillness you're experiencing right now, this feeling that life has forgotten your address, what if this isn't abandonment? What if this is divine strategy? You see, there's something the enemy doesn't want you to understand about the way heaven operates. God doesn't just move people, he positions them. And positioning requires something that terrifies our instant gratification culture: divine paralysis. Think about Joseph, 17 years old when he received his dream, 30 years old when he stepped into his destiny, 13 years of prison, slavery, and silence, 13 years of watching the sun rise and set on the same stone walls, wondering if God had made a mistake. But here's what Joseph couldn't see from his cell. Every single day of that imprisonment was building the character he'd need to run an empire. The prison wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You've been telling yourself that your best years are behind you, that God uses young people for big things and older people for, well, for waiting rooms and rocking chairs. But let me shatter that lie with one name: Moses. 80 years old when God called him to lead a nation. 80 years old when his real life began. While others were planning their retirement, Moses was planning the greatest liberation in human history. While others were slowing down, God was calling him to speed up. While others saw an old man with a speech impediment, God saw a general who'd been seasoned by 8 decades of desert training. What if this season of your life, this time when you feel invisible, forgotten, set aside, what if this is God's war room? What if he's been preparing you for something so significant that it required decades of refinement? You've survived betrayal that would have broken weaker souls. You've endured loneliness that carved out spaces in your heart so deep that only divine love could fill them. You've walked through nights where you prayed until your voice was hoarse and the sky stayed silent as stone. But every tear, every disappointment, every moment when you wanted to quit but didn't was all building something. Divina endurance. Isaiah 40-31 doesn't say those who sprint for the Lord. It says they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Wait. That word in Hebrew is kavahit. Doesn't mean passive sitting. It means to twist together like a rope. While you've been waiting, God has been twisting your experiences, your pain, your victories, your losses, into an unbreakable cord of spiritual strength. But here's where it gets supernatural. God specializes in tomb resurrections. Think about it. Jesus didn't rise from a hospital bed or a comfortable couch. He rose from a sealed tomb, dead for 3 days, wrapped in burial clothes, stone rolled in front, Roman guards standing watch, every human circumstance screaming, "It's over." And then Sunday morning arrived. Your Sunday morning is coming. But first, you have to trust the Saturday silence. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? That space between Good Friday and Easter Sunday. That place where everything looks finished, but God is working his greatest miracle in the darkness. You've been living in Saturday for months, maybe years. The diagnosis came, the spouse left, the children stopped calling. The dreams you carried for decades got buried under bills and responsibilities and the cruel mathematics of time. But God doesn't operate on our timeline. He operates on Kairos time, the right time, the appointed time, the time when heaven and earth collide for maximum impact. Elijah sat under that broom tree, begging God to let him die. The greatest prophet in Israel, fresh off calling down fire from heaven, ready to quit because one woman threatened him. But God didn't comfort Elijah with words. He let him sleep. He fed him. He gave him strength for a journey he didn't even know he needed to take. Sometimes God's greatest gift is divine pause. Not because he's forgotten you, but because he's preparing you for something that will require every ounce of wisdom, every scar, every victory, every failure you've accumulated. The world tells you to retire your dreams at 65. God says your dreams don't have expiration dates. The culture whispers that influence belongs to the young, but Scripture shouts that honor comes to those who endure. Society measures worth by energy and appearance. Heaven measures worth by depth and character. You think you're running out of time. God thinks you're finally ready for real time. Not the frantic rushing of youth, but the steady, unshakable power of someone who knows who they are and whose they are. What if this night of spiritual stillness isn't punishment but positioning? What if God has been hiding you not from opportunity, but for opportunity? What if every closed door was protecting you from settling for less than the extraordinary plan he's been orchestrating in secret? Your acceleration is about to begin, but first, you had to learn how to be still. Because when God moves you from this place of divine paralysis, you won't just walk into your destiny, you'll run into it with the accumulated power of every prayer you thought went unanswered, every tear you thought went unseen, every moment you thought went unnoticed. The question isn't whether God will move you. The question is, are you ready for the velocity of his response? Dear one, what I'm about to tell you might sound impossible, but I need you to lean in close, because tonight, this very night, God is performing what I can only call divine surgery on your spirit. And just like any surgery, you're going to be still, completely still. Not because you want to be, but because heaven itself is holding you in place. You see, there's something the enemy doesn't want you to know. For months now, maybe even years, you've been carrying this inexplicable restlessness, this stirring in your chest that wakes you at 3 a.m., this sense that something monumental is about to shift, but you can't put your finger on what. That's not your imagination running wild. That's the Spirit of God preparing your vessel for an acceleration so intense, so overwhelming, that your human frame needs to be conditioned first. Let me ask you something that might cut deep. How long have you been waiting? How many nights have you laid in bed asking God, when is it my turn? When do I get to see the breakthrough? When do I stop feeling like I'm running in circles while everyone else seems to be moving forward? Be honest with yourself right now. How many times have you whispered those exact words into your pillow? The reason I know this is because God has been downloading something into my spirit about you specifically, about this moment, about tonight. And what He's showing me is going to shock you to your core. Every single delay you've experienced wasn't God forgetting about you. Every closed door wasn't rejection. Every setback wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You see, what's about to hit your life is so massive, so earth-shattering, that if God had released it any earlier, it would have destroyed you. Not blessed, you destroyed you. Because the human spirit, in its wounded state, cannot contain the fullness of divine acceleration. Think about Moses. For 40 years, he lived in the wilderness, thinking his purpose had passed him by. 40 years of sheep, sand, and silence. Can you imagine the thoughts that must have tormented his mind? I had my chance and I blew it. I'm too old now. God has moved on to someone younger, someone better. But what Moses didn't understand was that God wasn't punishing him in that wilderness. God was preparing him. Because the Moses who fled Egypt as a murderer couldn't handle what the Moses who emerged from the burning bush was about to carry. The same God who held Moses in divine preparation for 4 decades is the same God who has been holding you in this season of waiting. But tonight, beloved, tonight, that waiting ends. Here's what's going to happen to you in the next few hours, and I want you to pay close attention because this might be the most important thing you ever hear. When you lay your head down tonight, you're going to feel something you've never felt before. A warm heaviness across your chest. Not the kind that makes you anxious, but the kind that makes you still, completely, utterly still. Your limbs are going to feel weighted down, not with exhaustion, but with the glory of God settling over your physical frame. Some of you are going to panic at first. You're going to try to move, try to shift, try to get up, but you won't be able to. And in that moment of supernatural stillness, Heaven is going to perform the most radical rewiring of your destiny that you've ever experienced. God is going to reach into the very core of your being and accelerate everything that's been dormant, everything that's been delayed, everything that's been declared over your life but hasn't manifested yet. This is what the prophet Isaiah meant when he declared, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles." The Hebrew word for renew doesn't just mean refresh, it means to exchange. God is going to exchange your timeline for His timeline, your strength for His strength, your limitations for His limitless power. But here's where it gets controversial, and I need you to brace yourself for this truth. Not everyone who hears this message tonight is going to experience this acceleration. Not because God plays favorites, but because not everyone is going to surrender to the stillness. Some of you are going to fight the paralysis. Some of you are going to resist the weight of His presence because it feels too intense, too overwhelming, too different from anything you've ever experienced. Listen to me carefully. If you fight this, you will miss the greatest spiritual upgrade of your lifetime. If you resist the divine surgery because it feels uncomfortable, you will wake up tomorrow exactly the same as you are today. And I'm telling you right now, you cannot afford to stay the same. The world is shifting, the spiritual atmosphere is changing, and God is separating those who are willing to be transformed from those who are content to remain as they are. This isn't about religion, dear one. This isn't about denomination or doctrine. This is about divine intervention. This is about God Himself deciding that your season of struggling is over, your season of barely getting by is finished, and your season of supernatural acceleration starts tonight. When Jesus walked on water, Peter had a choice. He could stay in the boat where it was safe, predictable, and normal, or he could step out onto the impossible and discover what he was truly capable of. Tonight, you have that same choice. You can resist this divine interruption and stay exactly where you are, or you can surrender to the stillness and wake up tomorrow as someone you don't even recognize. The question that will determine your entire future is this: when heaven holds you still tonight, will you trust the process or will you fight the transformation? Listen to me, dear one. I need you to go back with me. Back to that night. You know the one I'm talking about. That night when everything fell apart, when the phone rang at 2 a.m., when the doctor's words echoed in the sterile hallway, when you sat alone in your kitchen, staring at empty chairs around a table that once held laughter. You remember, don't you? You remember nights when you wept quietly in your kitchen so your children wouldn't hear. You remember when you buried your dreams so your family could live theirs. You remember when you stood at that graveside, feeling like half of your soul was being lowered into the ground with them. Maybe it was the night your husband of 43 years didn't come home. Maybe it was the night your child walked out that door in anger and never walked back in. Maybe it was the night you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the broken person staring back at you. You carried it all, didn't you? The weight of being strong for everyone else. The burden of holding families together while your own heart was shattering into 1,000 pieces. You smiled at church on Sunday while dying inside. You said, "I'm fine," when your soul was screaming. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Here's what hell tried to hide from you through decades of pain and disappointment. That night that broke you was actually the night that built you. You see, when life stripped everything away from you, when it took your security, your certainty, your carefully constructed plans, it wasn't destroying you. It was revealing you. It was showing you what you're really made of. And what you're made of, chosen one, is pure spiritual steel. Think about it. How many storms have you weathered that should have destroyed lesser souls? How many nights have you survived that would have crushed people half your age? How many times have you gotten back up when staying down would have been easier? The Bible tells us in Psalm 56:8, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle." Every single tear you've cried in secret, God caught it. Every silent prayer you whispered in the darkness, He heard it. Every moment you felt forgotten, He was taking notes. But here's where it gets powerful. Here's where your story takes a turn that will shock you. Heaven didn't forget those nights. God collects every tear, and tonight that account comes due. You think those years of struggle were wasted? You think that pain was pointless? Let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. Every single moment of heartbreak was actually depositing strength into your spiritual account. Every sleepless night was building endurance muscles you didn't know you had. Every time you chose to keep going when quitting felt easier, you were earning compound interest on a blessing that's about to mature. The prophet Isaiah said it perfectly. "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles." Mount up, not crawl up, not climb up. Mount up. Like a rocket launching into the stratosphere. You've been in training, warrior. You just didn't know it. All those years when you felt like you were barely surviving, you were actually being prepared for something so magnificent that God had to make sure you were strong enough to handle it. Think about the woman at the well, rejected, broken, living in shame. But Jesus didn't see her past. He saw her potential. He didn't see what she'd lost. He saw what she was about to gain. And when she left that well, she didn't just walk away changed. She ran into town and became the first evangelist, turning an entire city toward God. Your breaking wasn't your ending. It was your beginning. Your midnight wasn't your final hour. It was the last hour before dawn. Your tears weren't signs of weakness. They were seeds being planted for a harvest that's about to explode into your life. And tonight, right now, all of that stored up strength, all of that accumulated faith, all of that refined character is about to be unleashed in a burst of divine acceleration that will make up for every single day you thought was lost. The enemy convinced you that your best days were behind you. He whispered that you were too old, too tired, too broken to be used by God in any significant way. But he's a liar. Because God doesn't just restore what was taken from you, he multiplies it. Job lost everything: his children, his wealth, his health, his friends. But when God restored him, the Bible says he gave him twice as much as he had before. Twice as much. That's not just restoration, that's divine mathematics. That's God's way of saying, the pain you endured just earned you a double portion. Your children may have walked away, but God is about to bring them home with hearts wide open. Your health may have failed you, but divine vitality is about to surge through your body. Your finances may have been destroyed, but heaven's economy is about to break open over your life. If that's you, if you recognize your story in these words, if you know that your breaking was actually your making, say in the comments, "This is my turning night." Don't just watch. Speak it. Declare it. Because your voice carries power, and when you speak it, heaven moves. But this is just the beginning of what God wants to release over your life tonight. Because if you thought your breaking season was intense, wait until you see what your breakthrough season looks like. You know what's happening to you right now, don't you? That strange stillness, that inability to move forward or backward, that feeling like you're trapped between what was and what's coming. You've been calling it being stuck. You've been calling it delay. You've been calling it God's silence. But what if I told you that's the biggest lie the enemy ever whispered in your ear? Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every misconception you've had about this season of your life. That paralysis you're experiencing, that's not punishment. That's not abandonment. That's divine positioning. When a master archer pulls back his bow, the arrow doesn't move forward for a moment. It sits there, perfectly still, while tension builds behind it. The arrow might think it's going nowhere, but the archer knows something the arrow doesn't. The further back you pull, the more explosive the release. God has been pulling you back, not to hurt you, not to hold you back, to launch you into a trajectory that will leave your past in the dust. Think about David in that cave with Saul hunting him down, motionless, hidden, wondering if God had forgotten his promise of kingship. But David didn't know that every day in that cave was building the spiritual muscle he'd need to rule a nation. The cave wasn't his prison, it was his launching pad. Here's what's really happening in your life right now. Every door that slammed shut wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every relationship that fell apart wasn't loss, it was liberation from what would have held you back. Every financial struggle, every health scare, every sleepless night wasn't evidence that God abandoned you. It was evidence that something so massive was coming. You needed to be strengthened first. But here's where it gets supernatural. The prophet Habakkuk was stuck in the same divine paralysis you're experiencing right now. He cried out, "How long, Lord? How long must I call for help before you listen?" Sound familiar? But then God gave him a promise that will rock your world. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Did you catch that? It will not delay. Not maybe it'll come. Not if you're good enough. It will certainly come. Every single second you've been waiting has been building pressure in the spiritual realm, like a champagne bottle shaken for months, ready to explode the moment the cork is removed. And beloved, your cork is about to pop. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That restlessness that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. That unexplainable knowing that something big is brewing. Your spirit has been picking up frequencies from heaven, divine intelligence downloading into your consciousness. But here's what's about to shock you. The breakthrough coming isn't going to be gradual. It's not going to slowly trickle into your life like water from a leaky faucet. When God decides to move you, it happens with the force of a tsunami. Remember how Jesus spent 30 years in obscurity, then in 3 years turned the world upside down. How Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness, then in one conversation at a burning bush became the deliverer of nations. How Joseph went from prison to palace in a single day. That's the kind of acceleration heading straight for your life. But here's the question that's going to determine everything. When that divine slingshot releases you, when heaven catapults you from where you are to where you're destined to be, will you be ready to handle the velocity? Because what's coming isn't just a blessing. It's a violent disruption of every limitation you've accepted. It's an explosion of purpose, so powerful it will require a completely new version of you to contain it. The person you are today couldn't handle what's coming tomorrow. That's why God has been keeping you still. Not to torture you, but to transform you. Every day of this divine paralysis has been rewiring your spiritual DNA, upgrading your capacity, expanding your vision, preparing you for a blessing so big it would have destroyed the old you. Think about it. If God had given you everything you wanted 5 years ago, would you have been ready? Would you have had the wisdom to steward it, the strength to protect it, the character to multiply it? You would have collapsed under the weight of a blessing you weren't mature enough to carry. But now you've been through the fire, you've been tested in the valley, you've learned to worship in the wilderness, you've been forged into someone who can handle explosive favor. And that favor is no longer coming. It's here. Right now, as you're listening to these words, heaven is positioning the final pieces. Angels are moving obstacles you can't even see. Divine connections are being orchestrated. Supernatural doors are creaking open. The question isn't if your breakthrough is coming. The question is, are you ready to be launched into a life so different from today that you'll barely recognize yourself 6 months from now? Because once this divine slingshot releases you, there's no going back to small thinking, small dreams, or small living. You're about to discover what it feels like when God accelerates your life at supernatural speed. You know what breaks my heart? What absolutely shatters me when I think about God's chosen ones in this nation? It's watching seniors faithful, tithing, praying seniors sitting at kitchen tables at 2 a.m., calculator in hand, trying to figure out if they can afford both their medication and groceries this month. You've been faithful for 60, 70, 80 years. You've given when your bank account was crying. You've tithed when it made no logical sense. You've sowed seeds into ministries while your own garden was barren. And where has it gotten you? Still worried about money at an age when you should be resting in abundance. But let me tell you something that's going to shock your system tonight. Your financial season is about to explode, not because you worked harder, not because you got smarter about investments, but because heaven has been keeping books, and your payday is here. You see, there's something most preachers won't tell you about kingdom wealth. They'll tell you to be content with little. They'll tell you money doesn't matter. But that's a lie straight from the pit of hell, designed to keep God's people broke while the wicked prosper. Proverbs 13:22 declares, "The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the righteous." Did you catch that? Laid up. That means it's already been set aside, already been allocated, already been assigned to your account in heaven's bank. And right now, tonight, the transfer is being processed. You've been living beneath your spiritual inheritance. You've been accepting crumbs when God set a feast. You've been surviving when you were designed to thrive. But that generational curse of lack that's been stalking your family tree, it stops with you. Here's what's happening in the invisible realm while you've been struggling. Every dollar you gave when you couldn't afford it, heaven multiplied it. Every sacrifice you made in secret, God recorded it. Every time you chose to bless someone else instead of buying what you needed, you were making deposits into a divine account that's about to overflow. The enemy has been blocking your financial breakthrough because he knows something you're just now discovering. When God's people get money, they become dangerous. When the righteous have resources, they build kingdoms, they fund revivals, they change nations. But I need you to understand something crucial. This is not lottery money. This is not get-rich-quick money. This is kingdom wealth with kingdom purpose. God's not making you wealthy so you can buy a bigger house and ignore the hurting. He's making you wealthy so you can be His hands and feet with resources to match your heart. And it's going to happen so fast it will terrify you. You're going to get checks you didn't expect, opportunities you never applied for, ideas that turn into income streams overnight. People are going to hand you money for reasons that don't make sense. Because when God decides to shift your finances, He doesn't trickle, He floods. Some of you right now are thinking, but I'm too old. I missed my window. My earning years are over. That's exactly why God is about to shock you. He specializes in making ways where there is no way. He loves to use the expired to prove His power. Moses didn't hit his stride until he was 80. Abraham became a father at 100. Your age is not a limitation, it's a qualification. You've got wisdom money can't buy. You've got experience that's worth its weight in gold. You've got relationships built over decades. The season where you just get by is ending. You're stepping into divine overflow, and it won't make sense to your logical mind, but it will be undeniable to your bank account. Here's what I need you to do right now. I need you to stop seeing yourself as someone who needs help and start seeing yourself as someone God is about to use to help others. You're not the victim in this story, you're the vessel. The wealth that's coming isn't just for you, it's coming through you. God's been testing your heart in the lean years to see if He can trust you with abundance. And you passed the test. Every time you gave when you had nothing, every time you blessed when you were hurting, every time you chose faith over fear. That was your final exam, and heaven just posted your grades. You're about to discover what it feels like when money chases you instead of you chasing money, when opportunities hunt you down, when favor follows you into every financial decision you make. But here's the key. You have to stop operating in lack mentality. You have to stop speaking poverty over your life. You have to stop seeing yourself as broke, fixed income, struggling. That person died tonight. The person being raised up is wealthy, generous, and financially free. If you're ready to stop chasing money and start attracting purpose, declare this out loud. I am stepping into kingdom wealth, because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly how this supernatural financial acceleration is going to manifest in your daily life, starting tomorrow morning. You know what's haunting me right now, chosen one. It's the look in your eyes. Even through this screen I can see it. That familiar ache. That weight you've carried since you were 7 years old, sitting in the back of Sunday school, wondering why you felt things deeper than the other kids, why their laughter felt hollow, why their games felt empty, why you stared out windows, longing for something you couldn't name. They called you sensitive. They said you were too much, too intense, too different. But what if I told you that what they labeled as your weakness was actually God's fingerprint on your soul? Listen to me carefully. You weren't born broken, you were born marked. In Jeremiah 1-5, God declares, "Before I formed you in the womb I knew you, before you were born I set you apart." Set apart. Not set aside, not forgotten. Set apart for something they couldn't see coming. That restlessness you felt as a teenager, when everyone else seemed content with Friday night football games and weekend parties, but you sat in your room writing in journals, talking to God about things that made your parents worry. That wasn't rebellion. That was recognition. Your spirit was already sensing the weight of your calling. You've spent decades trying to fit into rooms that felt too small, haven't you? Corporate boardrooms where your integrity made you the outsider. Family gatherings where your depth made them uncomfortable. Church services where your questions made the pastor nervous. Social circles where your authenticity made others feel exposed. And you blamed yourself. You thought something was wrong with you. You tried to dim your light, lower your voice, shrink your dreams. You apologized for taking up space. You second-guessed every instinct. You buried your gifts under layers of doubt and people-pleasing. But God never stopped watching. He never stopped preparing you. Every rejection that nearly broke you, it was redirecting you. Every door that slammed in your face, it was protecting you from settling for less than His best. Every season of loneliness, It was sacred solitude, where he could speak to you without interference. You haven't been fighting just for survival, you've been fighting for destiny. Think about David, a shepherd boy, forgotten by his own father when the prophet came looking for the next king. While his brothers stood tall and impressive, David was in the fields, doing the invisible work. But 1 Samuel 16:7 tells us God's truth. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Your heart, chosen one. That's what he marked. That's what he's been protecting. That's what he's been preparing. You see, the marking isn't just about what God has called you to do, it's about what he's called you to become. Every trial was a chisel, every test was a refining fire. Every moment when you wanted to quit but didn't, that was divine stubbornness being built into your character. But here's what's going to shock you. The very thing that made you feel like an outsider all these years, that's about to become your greatest asset. Your sensitivity, that's prophetic discernment. Your intensity, that's holy fire. Your inability to settle for surface-level relationships, that's because you were designed for soul-deep impact. God doesn't mark people for easy assignments. He marks them for impossible ones. Noah had to build an ark when there was no rain. Moses had to lead a nation when he couldn't even speak clearly. Esther had to save her people when she was just a young woman in a foreign palace. And you've been marked to carry light into the darkest hour America has ever known. Look around you. This nation is hemorrhaging hope. Families are fracturing. Faith is failing. Fear is spreading like wildfire. The elderly are forgotten in nursing homes. The young are lost in digital darkness. The middle-aged are drowning in depression. This is why you're here. This is why you felt different. This is why nothing ordinary has ever satisfied your soul. You weren't marked to blend into the background. You were marked to stand in the gap. To be the voice that speaks truth when everyone else whispers lies. To be the hands that heal when everyone else hurts. To be the heart that loves when everyone else hardens. In Esther 4:14, Mordecai asked the question that echoes through eternity. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? For such a time as this. Not for easier times, not for convenient times, for these times. These broken, beautiful, desperate times when the world needs exactly what God placed inside you before you took your first breath. The marking on your life isn't just personal, it's generational. You're not just breaking cycles for yourself. You're rewriting the story for your children, your grandchildren, your community, your nation. But here's the urgency that's burning in my spirit right now. The enemy knows what's about to happen. He knows that marked ones like you are about to step into their full authority. That's why the warfare has been so intense. That's why the isolation felt so deep. That's why the doubt screamed so loud. He was trying to convince you to forfeit your marking before you even understood what it meant. But it's too late now. You've heard the truth. You've felt the stirring. You've recognized the call. The question that will determine everything is this: will you finally stop running from who God made you to be? Because what's about to be activated inside you isn't just going to change your life. It's going to ignite a holy acceleration that will make up for every lost year, every missed opportunity, every moment you spent hiding in the shadows. The marking isn't just on you. The marking is in you, and it's about to explode with the force of heaven itself. Chosen one, let me ask you something that might shake you to your core. What happens when God shows up uninvited and leaves you forever changed? What happens when heaven crashes into your ordinary Tuesday night and suddenly nothing, absolutely nothing, feels the same anymore? You woke up this morning feeling different, didn't you? Like your soul got stretched overnight. Like someone rearranged the furniture in your spirit while you were sleeping. And now you're walking around in your own life, feeling like a stranger in your own skin. You're not losing your mind. You're gaining your destiny. When heaven visits, it doesn't ask permission to rearrange you. It doesn't give you a manual for what comes next. It just shows up, downloads the divine, and leaves you to figure out how to live in a body that now carries eternity. And now your bones remember the weight of that visitation, but your mind hasn't caught up yet. Look at Moses after the burning bush. Scripture tells us in Exodus 4:1 that he immediately doubted. What if they do not believe me? The man just heard God's voice through fire, received his life's mission, and his first response was fear. Why? Because divine encounters don't make you feel powerful. They make you feel small enough to need God. You know what nobody tells you about breakthrough? It hurts. Not because God is cruel, but because transformation requires the death of who you used to be. And death, even spiritual death, comes with grief. Mary after Gabriel leaves. Think about it. The angel delivers the most earth-shattering news in human history. You will conceive and give birth to a sonand, then just disappears. Luke 1:38 shows her surrender. May your word to me be fulfilled. But what about the next morning? What about when she woke up with heaven's promise but earthly consequences staring her in the face? You're not crazy. You're not late. You're just adjusting to a new altitude. When airplanes climb too fast, passengers get dizzy. When divers surface too quickly, they get the bends. And when your spirit gets elevated overnight, your mind needs time to catch up. That disorientation you're feeling, that's not spiritual failure, that's spiritual promotion. But here's what's dangerous about this moment. The enemy wants to convince you it was all in your head. He wants you to rationalize away the divine encounter. He wants you to explain away the miracle. He wants you to go back to sleep, back to small, back to safe. Don't you dare. Acts 9 shows us Saul on the Damascus road, struck blind by the presence of Jesus. For 3 days he couldn't see. For 3 days he questioned everything. Was it real? Was he losing his mind? But in that blindness, Saul was dying and Paul was being born. The blindness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Your confusion isn't condemnation, it's consecration. You're not the same person who started watching this message. Something fundamental shifted in your spiritual DNA. The old programming is being erased. The new operating system is being installed. And like any major update, your system needs time to reboot. But let me warn you about something. People are going to notice. Your family is going to see the change in your eyes. Your co-workers are going to feel the shift in your energy. Your friends are going to wonder why you're not complaining anymore, why you're not anxious anymore, why you seem to know something they don't. And some of them, the ones still living in the old frequency, are going to try to pull you back down. They're going to question your transformation. They're going to call it a phase. They're going to test your new peace with old drama. Stay strong, stay strange, stay transformed. Isaiah 43:19 declares, See, I am doing a new thing, now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? The Hebrew word for new here is chadashit, means something that has never existed before. God isn't recycling your old life with new decorations. He's creating something that has never been on this earth before. You feel disoriented because you're pioneering a version of yourself that didn't exist yesterday. You feel out of place because you've outgrown your old environment. You feel different because you are different. But here's what I need you to understand with crystal clarity. This discomfort is not permanent, but it is necessary. You're in the labor room of your destiny right now, and labor hurts. But what's being born through this pain will change your lineage forever. The spiritual aftershock. You're experiencing the emotional vertigo, the sense that nothing fits anymore. That's not a sign you're going backward. That's evidence you've moved so far forward that your old life can't contain who you're becoming. You're not crazy. You're not late. You're just adjusting to a new altitude. And here's the truth that's going to set you free. Everyone who has ever been truly touched by God has walked through this valley of disorientation. Abraham left everything familiar. David spent years in caves before the palace. Joseph endured the pit before the promotion. Your spiritual aftershock isn't a setback, it's a setup. It's not evidence of weakness, it's proof of awakening. It's not a reason to doubt, it's a reason to declare that something ancient and eternal has interrupted your timeline with purpose. So, when people ask you what happened, when they wonder why you seem so different, when they can't understand the peace that radiates from your presence now, you tell them the truth. I had an encounter, and encounters change everything. But here's the question that's going to determine your destiny. Now that you've been touched by the divine, now that you've felt the weight of eternity in your bones, now that you know what it's like to carry heaven's frequency, what are you going to do with this new power pulsing through your veins? Chosen one. What I'm about to tell you will explain everything. Why you've been feeling like a stranger in your own life, why nothing fits the way it used to. Why you wake up some mornings and barely recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. You are not losing your mind. You are losing your old identity. Listen careful. God is performing what I call a divine migration on your soul. He's not just changing your circumstances. He's not just opening new doors or closing old ones. He is literally relocating your spiritual address. You are being moved overnight from who you were to who you're destined to become. Think about it this way. You are like a city being moved overnight. Every building, every street, every landmark of your identity is being lifted up and transported to an entirely new location. But here's the thing about divine relocations. They happen in the spirit realm first, before they manifest in the natural. That's why everything feels so unrecognizable. You no longer live where you used to. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, your forwarding address has changed. But your mail, your old habits, old thought patterns, old labels that people put on you, still thinks you live back there. It's still being delivered to an address that no longer exists. Do you understand what I'm saying? You are not who you were. But you're not yet who you're becoming. This is the space between. This is the holy tension that's been driving you crazy. This is why some days you feel powerful beyond measure, and other days you feel completely lost. You're caught between two worlds, the old you that's dying, and the new you that's being born. Look at Joseph. One day he's a shepherd boy having dreams that make his brothers want to kill him. The next day, literally overnight, standing before Pharaoh, interpreting dreams that will save nations. Did Joseph feel ready for that palace? Did he feel qualified to manage the economy of Egypt? Of course not. But God wasn't asking Joseph if he felt ready. God was announcing Joseph's new identity. You are no longer Joseph the dreamer. You are Joseph the ruler. Your address has changed. Your assignment has changed. Your authority has changed. And here's what shook Joseph to his core and what's shaking you right now. The old Joseph couldn't handle the new assignment. Only the relocated Joseph could carry that weight. That's exactly what's happening to you. God is preparing to give you an assignment so big, so weighty, so powerful, that the old version of you would have collapsed under the pressure. So he's performing identity surgery on your soul. But here's where it gets controversial. Most people fight this divine migration. They cling to their old address because it's familiar. They'd rather stay comfortable in their limitations than embrace the discomfort of transformation. Tell me something honest. How many times have you caught yourself saying, "I'm just not that kind of person"? How many times have you shrunk back from opportunities because they didn't match your old self-image? That's not humility. That's resistance to divine relocation. You see, God doesn't ask for your permission to upgrade your identity. He doesn't send you a moving notice 2 weeks in advance. When it's time for divine migration, it happens whether you're ready or not. Look at Scripture. Revelation 2:17 says, "To the one who overcomes, I will give some of the hidden manna. I will also give that person a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to the one who receives it." A new name, a new identity, known only to the one who receives it. Do you realize what this means? God has already written your new name. Your new identity is already prepared. The only question is, will you stop fighting the migration long enough to receive it? Because here's what happens to people who resist divine relocation. They spend their entire lives living beneath their calling. They carry the anointing of a king but think like a peasant. They have the authority of a prophet but speak like they're still in the wilderness. Is that you? Are you still introducing yourself by your old address? I'm not the type of person who... That's not really me. Stop it. Right now. Stop it. That's not you talking. That's your old zip code talking. That's the address you used to live at, trying to hold you hostage to a version of yourself that God has already demolished. You want to know why this season has felt so chaotic? Why relationships have ended? Why doors have slammed shut? Why you felt so alone? God was clearing the path for your migration. He couldn't move you to your new identity while you were still surrounded by people and situations that were invested in keeping you at your old address. Some people in your life have been unconsciously assigned to remind you of who you used to be. But God is saying, their assignment is over. Your forwarding address is classified information. You are like a tree being uprooted but not replanted just yet. You're in the space between. The roots are out of the old soil, but they haven't touched the new ground yet. And in that suspended moment, everything feels unstable. But that's not instability. That's elevation. God is moving you from ground level to higher ground, from survival soil to abundance soil, from limitation land to limitless territory. So here's my question for you. Are you going to keep trying to go back to your old address? Are you going to keep knocking on doors that God has permanently sealed? Or are you going to trust this divine migration and start exploring the new territory He's bringing you into? Because, beloved, the moving trucks of heaven are already in motion. Your new identity is being delivered as we speak. And what's coming next? What's waiting for you at your new address? It's going to require every ounce of who you're becoming to handle it. Listen to me, beloved. I know you're sitting there tonight wrestling with a question that's been burning in your chest for months, maybe years. You're asking God, if you've really chosen me, if this breakthrough is really coming, then why can't I see it? Why won't you just show me the whole picture? You want the blueprint. God gives you bricks. You ask for the whole bridge. God hands you a single plank and says, step out. And that terrifies you, doesn't it? Because at 70, at 65, at 82 years old, you feel like you don't have time for mysteries anymore. You've earned the right to clarity. You've paid your dues through decades of faithfulness, through raising children who broke your heart, through burying spouses who were your whole world, through watching your body betray you one joint at a time. You're thinking, God, I'm too old for riddles. Just tell me what's coming. But here's what's wrecking your peace tonight. And here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. God's refusal to show you everything isn't cruelty, it's protection. Let me shock you with this truth. If God showed you right now everything He's about to do in your life over the next 5 years, your human mind would either reject it as impossible, or your heart would stop from the sheer magnitude of His plans for you. You think you want to see the whole staircase, but darling, you can barely handle the step you're on. Abraham was 75 years old when God said, leave everything you know and go to a place I will show you. 75. That's retirement age. That's when you're supposed to be settled, not starting over. And Scripture tells us in Hebrews 11:8, by faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance. And he went out, not knowing where he was going. Not knowing where he was going. At 75. But here's what Abraham understood that you're struggling with tonight. The God who calls you is the same God who catches you. One step, one plank, one brick at a time. You see, the reason God won't show you the whole plan isn't because He doesn't trust you, it's because He knows you. He knows that if you saw how high He's about to lift you, you'd spend all your energy preparing for the destination instead of walking through the process that prepares you for the destination. He knows that if you saw the magnitude of the love that's coming, you'd rush ahead and miss the healing you need first. He knows that if you saw the financial breakthrough, you'd start making plans with money you don't have wisdom to steward yet. God is protecting you from yourself. But let me tell you what's really happening in the invisible realm while you're complaining about the mystery. Every single day you choose faith over sight. You're building spiritual muscle. Every morning you wake up and say, I don't see it, but I trust you. You're becoming the person who can handle what's coming. One plank, one plank, one plank. That's how the bridge appears under your feet, not in your sight. And I need you to understand something that's going to change how you see your current season. What feels like God withholding information is actually God downloading courage. Because when you finally see what He's been building, you're going to need every ounce of faith you've been forced to develop in the dark. You think you're waiting for God to reveal His plan, but God is waiting for you to become the person who can walk in that plan without being destroyed by it. The woman who gets the love story first has to become the woman who knows her worth without a man. The man who gets the financial breakthrough first has to become the man who knows provision comes from heaven, not hustle. The person who gets the healing first has to become the person who trusts God in sickness and in health. This is why you can't see everything yet. Not because you're not ready for the blessing, but because the blessing is not ready for who you still think you are. Here's what I need you to grasp tonight. Your confusion about the timeline is actually confirmation that you're exactly where God needs you. The fact that you can't figure it out means you haven't outgrown your need for Him. The fact that you have to trust Him daily means you're still pliable in His hands. And seniors, listen to me carefully. God isn't rushing you because He knows what young people don't, that the sweetest fruit takes the longest to ripen. He's not holding back your breakthrough because you're too old. He's perfecting it because you're finally wise enough to steward it properly. Moses was 80 when he saw the burning bush. Sarah was 90 when she held Isaac. Anna was 84 when she prophesied over baby Jesus. Your age isn't a limitation, it's a qualification. But here's what's about to shift everything for you, and this is why you need to pay attention to what's coming next. The season of one plank at a time is about to end. The season of divine acceleration is about to begin. And when God decides to show you multiple planks at once, when He starts revealing pieces of the puzzle rapid fire, are you going to be ready to move at the speed of heaven? Chosen one, I need you to stop right where you are and listen to what I'm about to tell you, because what you've been calling your greatest failure, what you've been crying about in the middle of the night, what's been eating at your soul for years, that delay, that closed door, that no that shattered your dreams, it wasn't rejection. It was divine protection. You've been looking at your life all wrong. That job you didn't get 15 years ago, that marriage that fell apart when you thought it was God's will, that business that collapsed right when success seemed guaranteed, that move you couldn't make, that opportunity that slipped through your fingers, that dream that died when you needed it most. What if I told you that every single delay was God's hand literally pulling you back from a cliff you couldn't see? Listen to me carefully. In Ecclesiastes 3:1, Solomon writes, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." But here's what most people miss. Sometimes God's greatest mercy is His mighty number. Sometimes His love looks like a locked door. Sometimes His protection feels like punishment. You thought you were being forgotten. God was building your foundation. Think about it. What would have happened if you got that promotion at 45 when your character wasn't ready for the pressure? What if you married that person when you were still broken inside? What if you moved to that city before God finished the work in your heart? You would have self-destructed. The blessing would have become your burden. The answer to your prayer would have become your prison. But God, oh, listen to this. God loved you too much to give you what you wanted when you weren't ready for what you needed. Jeremiah 29:11 declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. But notice it doesn't say when. It doesn't promise immediate gratification. It promises perfect timing. You are not a microwave Christian, dear soul. You are not instant coffee faith. You are aged wine. You are seasoned timber. You are refined gold. And everything that tried to rush you, everything that tried to promote you too early, everything that tried to elevate you before your time, God shut it down. Not because he was angry with you, but because he was protecting the destiny he had already written for you. Look at Joseph, 17 years old with a dream from heaven, sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, forgotten in prison for years, every door slammed shut, every hope crushed, every promise delayed. But Genesis 50:20 reveals the master plan. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The delay saved not just Joseph's destiny, but an entire nation. What if your delay is saving something bigger than you can see right now? Here's what's happening in your spirit as I speak these words. That ache in your chest, that's recognition. That stirring in your soul, that's confirmation. Because deep down you know this is true. You know that if you had gotten what you wanted when you wanted it, you wouldn't be the person you are today. The waiting refined you. The rejection redirected you. The closed doors concentrated your purpose until it became so pure, so powerful, so precise, that when God finally says yes, nothing in hell will be able to stop what he releases through you. You thought you were falling behind. You were actually being prepared for acceleration. And here's the shocking truth that's about to change everything. Those 15 years of delay, that decade of disappointment, those doors that wouldn't open, they weren't just protection. They were preparation for a blessing so massive that if it had come earlier, it would have crushed you. But now, now you're ready. Now your roots run deep enough to handle the storm. Now your foundation is solid enough to bear the weight of favor. Now your character is strong enough to steward the anointing God is about to pour out. The delay didn't deny your destiny. It developed it. Isaiah 40:31 promises, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." Notice the word wait, not rush, not force, not demand. Wait. Because while you were waiting, God was working. While you were crying, he was creating. While you thought nothing was happening, everything was happening in the invisible realm. Your delay is about to become your delivery. Your frustration is about to become your fulfillment. Your not yet is about to become your right now. And when it happens, when the floodgates finally open, when the breakthrough finally breaks through, you're going to fall to your knees in gratitude that God made you wait. Because what's coming is not just good, it's God-sized. The question burning in your spirit right now is this: if the delay was divine protection, then what exactly has God been protecting you for? Dear soul, can I tell you something that's going to shake you to your core? You've been living in a tomb, not a gravier tomb. There's a difference. A grave is final, a tomb is temporary. And right now, as I speak these words over your life, I hear the rumbling, I hear the shifting. I hear the angel of the Lord descending with earthquake power to roll away every stone that has kept you buried. You see, for years, maybe decades, you've been asking God, why am I hidden? Why does nobody see my gifts? Why do doors slam shut when I know I'm called for more? But what you didn't understand is this: God wasn't keeping you from the world. He was keeping the world from contaminating what he was building inside you. Every rejection was divine protection. Every closed door was heaven saying, not yet. They're not ready for what I've placed in you. But something has shifted in the spiritual realm. The preparation phase is over. The hiding season has ended. And what was built in silence is about to echo in stadiums. Listen to me carefully. Matthew 28:2 says, "There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and rolled back the stone." Do you hear that word? Violent. This wasn't a gentle nudge. This was a supernatural earthquake that shook the foundations of hell itself. And that same violent breakthrough is coming for you. But here's what terrifies the enemy. You were never meant to stay small. You were incubated, not imprisoned. While you thought you were forgotten, God was forging something in you that this generation has never seen. The loneliness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The isolation wasn't abandonment, it was divine appointment. Think about David, 30 years old, anointed as a teenager, still running from cave to cave while Saul sat on the throne that belonged to him. But God wasn't late. God was letting David's character catch up to his calling. And when heaven finally said, "Now," it happened so fast that even David's enemies had to bow and say, "Surely God has made him king." Chosen one. That earthquake moment is here. Right now, tonight. The stone that kept you hidden is rolling away with such force that everyone is about to see what God has been hiding. Your family who overlooked you, your co-workers who passed you by, your neighbors who whispered about your struggles, they're all about to witness your resurrection. But this isn't just about personal vindication. This is about divine demonstration. God is about to use your life as proof that He still moves mountains, that He still parts seas, that He still raises the dead. You're not just getting a breakthrough, you're becoming one. And here's where it gets powerful. What the enemy meant to bury you with is about to become your platform. That addiction that almost destroyed you, God's turning it into a ministry. That divorce that broke your heart, heaven is making it your testimony. That financial ruin that left you ashamed, the Lord is transforming it into your greatest strength. You've been carrying resurrection power, but you've been living like you're still in the tomb. No more. The angel has arrived, the stone is moving, and what's coming out of you is going to leave this world speechless. But I need you to understand something crucial. This public unveiling isn't just about blessing you, it's about positioning you. God is placing you in rooms you've never been in, connecting you with people you've never met, opening doors you've never knocked on, because the world needs what you carry. The generation that's rising needs to see that God still chooses the broken, the forgotten, the overlooked. They need to witness that your scars can become your credentials, your pain can become your platform, and your mess can become your message. So when heaven unlocks you publicly, and it's happening right now, don't you dare apologize for your sudden elevation. Don't minimize what God is doing to make others comfortable. You've earned every bit of favor that's about to flood your life. The question isn't if this is real. The question is, are you ready to walk out of that tomb and into the destiny that's been calling your name since before you were born? Chosen one, I need you to sit down for what I'm about to tell you. Because the financial devastation you've endured, the bankruptcy that crushed your spirit in 2008, the business that collapsed in 2020, the retirement fund that vanished overnight wasn't the end of your story. It was the setup for your comeback. God saw every tear you cried over those bills. He felt every humiliation when you had to ask for help. He witnessed every night you laid awake calculating, recalculating, wondering how you'd make it through another month. And beloved, He was taking notes, divine notes. Because what the enemy stole through economic crashes and corporate greed, God is about to restore through supernatural provision. Listen to me carefully. The money that's coming to you won't follow the rules of this broken economy. It won't depend on the stock market, inflation rates, or whether Social Security survives. This provision is coming from heaven's treasury, and heaven never experienced a recession. But here's what's shaking me to my core tonight. God just whispered something that's going to demolish every financial limitation you've accepted. He said, "I'm about to pay them for prayers they forgot they prayed." Do you remember that desperate prayer in 1997 when you lost your house? That broken-hearted cry in 2005 when the medical bills buried you? That silent scream in 2020 when everything shut down? God remembers every single one. And He's been calculating compound interest on those tears for decades. Joel 2:25 declares, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. But this isn't just restoration. This is divine compensation. This is God saying, I owe you back. Pay for faithfulness in the fire. You see, most people think money comes from hustle. They believe provision flows from performance. But chosen ones operate in a different economy. Your breakthrough isn't coming from another job application. It's coming from alignment with divine purpose. The money will not come from effort. It will come from obedience. Right now, Heaven's accounting department is processing your case. Every injustice is being calculated. Every stolen opportunity is being tallied. Every time you were passed over for promotion because of your age, your faith, your refusal to compromise God was keeping record. And the payment that's coming will leave you speechless. This isn't just increase, beloved. This is compensation. What you lost when the market crashed, when the company downsized, when inflation ate your savings, sits all returning with supernatural interest. The $30,000 you lost in that investment scam, God's about to multiply it by 10. The pension they stole, Heaven's releasing a supernatural retirement plan that no government can touch. But I need to warn you about something that's about to shock your nervous system. This provision is going to come so fast, so unexpectedly, that you'll question if it's real. Money from sources you never applied to. Checks in amounts that don't make mathematical sense. Opportunities that find you, instead of you chasing them. Your mailbox is about to become a miracle delivery system. Your phone will ring with offers you never pursued. People will seek you out with contracts you never imagined. Because when God decides to restructure your finances, He doesn't just add zeros, He rewrites the entire equation. Some of you are thinking, but I'm 70 years old. I'm 65. I'm retired. My earning years are over. Stop right there. God doesn't operate by retirement age. Moses was 80 when God promoted him to national leader. Abraham received his greatest blessing at 100. Your birth certificate is not your limitation. Your obedience is your activation. The enemy convinced you that financial breakthrough was for younger people, for the tech savvy, for those who understand cryptocurrency and online businesses. That's a lie straight from hell. God's about to prove that supernatural provision doesn't require a college degree, a LinkedIn profile, or knowledge of the latest apps. He's about to use your wisdom, your character, your lifetime of faithfulness as the very foundation for unprecedented financial favor. The respect you've earned, the integrity you've maintained, the relationships you've built over decades, these are your assets in Heaven's economy. Here's what's about to happen in the next 90 days. Ideas will drop into your spirit like rain. Simple ideas, clear ideas. Ideas that seem too easy to be profitable. Don't dismiss them. These are divine downloads. Heaven's business plan, custom designed for your season of life. That hobby you've enjoyed for years, God's about to turn it into income. That skill you take for granted, Heaven's about to monetize your gift. That story you've lived, the marketplace is hungry for your testimony. But the most shocking part is this. You won't have to beg, convince, or sell anyone. The right people will find you. The perfect opportunities will present themselves. The money will flow like it's been waiting for permission to reach you. Because, beloved, you're not entering a season of financial struggle. You're stepping into divine compensation for a lifetime of faithfulness. The years the locusts ate, 1997, 2005, 2008, 2020, those lean seasons are over. The fat years are beginning. And this time, no economic storm can touch what God has secured for you. Are you ready to stop surviving and start thriving? Because the financial restructure isn't coming someday. It's happening right now. And the question that will determine everything is this. Will you position yourself to receive what heaven is about to release? Or will you let doubt rob you of divine provision one more time? Chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred encounter, I need you to remember 3 unshakable truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, the acceleration you're feeling isn't your imagination, it's divine intervention. God has been warming up your engine for years, and now He's hitting the gas. The burst of love, purpose and provision flowing into your life is heaven's response to your faithfulness through every dark season you've endured. Second, your age is not your limitation, it's your qualification. At 65, 70, 80, or beyond, you're not winding down, you're being wound up for your greatest chapter. Moses led millions at 80. Abraham received his promise at 100. Your birth certificate is not God's expiration date on your destiny. Third, the financial restructure coming your way isn't based on the world's economy, it's rooted in heaven's treasury. What you lost in the crashes, the betrayals, the broken promises, God is returning it all with supernatural interest. Joel 2:25 is your receipt. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. But beloved, you are not walking this path alone. Right now, as you listen to these words, there are thousands of chosen ones across this nation feeling the exact same stirring in their spirit. You're part of a remnant that refuses to give up, refuses to settle, refuses to believe that your best days are behind you. This community, this family of faith, we're here for you. We see you, we believe in you, and more importantly, we pray for you. When the world tells you to slow down, we're here to remind you that God is speeding you up. When circumstances try to convince you it's over, we're here to declare that your breakthrough is just beginning. Let me ask you something that will echo in your heart long after this video ends. If God has brought you this far, through every valley, every storm, every season that tried to break you, why would He abandon you now, at the threshold of your greatest victory? Take a moment right now. Comment below and tell us what you're believing God for in this season. Share your testimony of His faithfulness. Ask for prayer. This community will surround you with intercession. And please share this message with someone who needs to hear that their breakthrough is closer than they think. Because when we lift each other up, heaven responds with acceleration. If this word has touched your spirit, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You're not just subscribing to a channel, you're connecting with a movement of chosen ones who refuse to accept defeat. But before you go, before you return to your day, let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words and pray over your life with the authority of 5 decades walking with the Almighty. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this encounter. Lord, you see the tears they've cried in secret. You know the battles they've fought in silence. You feel the ache in their hearts for breakthrough, for healing, for provision. Tonight, I decree and declare that their season of waiting is over. Father, release the burst of divine love that will heal every wound, mend every broken place, and restore their joy. Pour out supernatural provision that defies economic laws and human logic. Open doors that no man can shut. Bring divine connections that will accelerate their purpose. Give them strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Protect them, Lord. Cover them with your wing. Send angels to guard their steps and prepare their path. Let them feel your presence in every room they enter, your peace in every storm they face, your love in every moment they doubt their worth. I speak life over their bodies, healing, vitality, renewed strength. I speak abundance over their finances, supernatural increase, divine provision, unexpected blessings. I speak restoration over their relationships, reconciliation, divine connections, love that reflects your heart. Most of all, Father, remind them daily that they are chosen, they are loved, they are never alone. Let them wake each morning knowing that this is the day you have made for their breakthrough. Let them sleep each night in perfect peace, knowing that you are working while they rest. In the mighty name of Jesus, who sits at your right hand interceding for us, I seal this prayer with faith, hope, and love. Amen. Chosen one, your divine moment has arrived. Step into it with confidence. Heaven is cheering you on, this community is praying for you, and your breakthrough is already in motion. Until we meet again, keep your eyes on Jesus, your heart open to His voice, and your spirit ready for the miraculous. You are loved beyond measure, and your story is far from over. God bless you abundantly.